What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This here's Legitical Response. I cover political news, folks, and we got some more legislation passed through the House. That is right, but you're not going to hear about it in the mainstream news. You're only going to hear about it here. No, you can go read about it in the corporate press. I'm lying. But you're probably not going to get anybody make a video on this. I seem to be the only person that makes videos covering stuff like this. So let's go ahead and get into it right quick before I go on some sort of rant talking about how insane this administration is because they won't stop calling Donald Trump a threat. House backs measure to overturn Biden auto emissions rule that Republicans say would force EV sales. Yes, as a matter of fact, it would. Anybody that looks at it will see that outright. Just clear, plain as day. It's a electric vehicle mandate. It's okay. It falls just short of a mandate. Falls just short, but you'll see. We'll get into all that. Check this out, y'all. The GOP-controlled House approved a resolution Friday that would overturn a new Biden administration rule on automobile emissions that Republicans say would force Americans to buy unaffordable electric vehicles they don't want. The rule issued by the Environmental Protection Agency in March would impose the most ambitious standards ever in the United States to cut planet-warming emissions from passenger vehicles. The actions come as EV sales needed to meet the standards have begun to slow. Oh, imagine that. While former President Donald Trump and other Republicans have lambasted the rule as an EV mandate, the rule would not force all sales of EVs under the regulation. Industry could meet the limits if 56% of new vehicle sales are electric by 2032, the EPA said. So they just contradicted themselves right quick. Yes, as a matter of fact, for 56% of everybody that goes and buys a vehicle, you're going to be mandated to get an electric vehicle. You're not going to have a choice. That's what that means. Sure. Yeah, if you're within that what is it? 44%. Yeah, if you're the first 44%, you can get a gas-powered vehicle, sure. But it is forcing the industry to move away from it. That's the problem. You're not giving them customer choice, right? That number, 56% of all vehicle sales must be electric. That doesn't sound that crazy. That's like half. You're thinking, well, that's not a mandate. Half of the freaking cars are going to be internal combustion engine. You know where electric vehicle sales sit right now currently? Bet you don't know that. 7%, just under 7%. I'm rounding up to make it sound better. Yeah, 7%. Do you think by 2030 we can go from 7% to 56%? Do you think we have the charging stations? As a matter of fact, the Inflation Reduction Act was meant to give billions of dollars to these companies to build charging stations. They've built 3 charging stations and spent I forget how many billions of dollars, but it was multiple billions of dollars. I want to say like 3 or 4 billion to build 3 so far. That sounds absurd, don't it? Sounds very absurd. Sounds like I'm lying, don't it? Yeah, go fact check it. It's insane. I couldn't believe it myself. I almost didn't want to report on it. Because that's just an unbelievable number. How can it take that much money to build 3 charging stations? Yeah, it's tied up in all kind of contracts and all kinds of other stuff. There's supposed to be several more hundreds of these stations. That's where some of that money is tied up. I know. I twisted the figures a little bit, but at least I told you the truth. They've only built 3, and they've spent billions of dollars so far. Yeah, of course, once again, they're slated to build more. But it's still going to cost hundreds of billions of dollars to build the necessary amount of charging stations for half of all the cars on the road in the United States to be electric. We don't have the infrastructure. You can't build that many charging stations that quickly. You just can't do it. And they want all these cars to be electric by 2032. Yeah, 2032. The standard also would require at least 13% plug-in hybrids or other partially electric cars by 2032, as well as more efficient gasoline-powered cars that get more miles to the gallon than cars currently on the road. So, in other words, they're going to have to significantly make the cars that we have on the road now much, much more efficient. That's what that means. That's exactly what that means. The EPA's latest tailpipe emissions rule is not really about reducing air pollution. It's about forcing Americans to drive electric vehicles, said Rep. Kathy McMorris Rogers of Washington, the chair of the House Energy and Commerce Committee. She called the rule unreasonable and just another example of how the Biden-Harris administration's rush to green agenda is handing China the key to America's energy future, jeopardizing our auto industry, and forcing people to buy unaffordable EVs they don't want. Yes, a lot of people don't want these because it takes way too long to charge. It is hard to find a charging station. I know Tesla has a good little system. It tells you where every charging station is. That's good. These other companies, I'm sure they're going to be doing that as well. I don't know if they do, but they should. And that's great. But once again, that's for 7% of cars on the road are electric. Yeah, that's probably fine with the amount of charging stations we currently have. But if they don't get these charging stations built, there's going to be a major demand problem there and not enough supply. And we know what happens when you have huge demand and not enough supply. The price skyrockets. The price is going to skyrocket on charging your vehicle. That's what's going to happen. It's going to become more costly than the gasoline that they're trying to save you from, right? It's not about the emissions because cars don't produce that much CO2. Coal-fired power plants produce a whole hell of a lot more. Jets produce a whole hell of a lot more. It's not the cars. I don't know why they're laser focused on this one and not laser focused on building nuclear power plants. You want to cut emissions? Do that. Build nuclear power plants and get rid of these coal-fired power plants. Because for one main reason, all this electricity that you want to use to power these electric vehicles is coming from mostly coal-fired power plants. So you're not doing anything. They're going to have to up their production, up their burning of coal to fill in for all this electricity that's now being used up. That's right. That's what they're going to have to do. Now, some of these charging stations have their own power generation sources. But guess what, folks? Those run on diesel engines. So, I mean, what's the point here? You're just trading one for the other. That's all that's doing. You might feel better about buying an electric vehicle. Oh, you're not producing CO2. Yeah, you are. Especially if you live somewhere where you have a coal-fired power plant. You most certainly are, which is most of America. The vast majority of power plants in this country are coal-fired power plants. Yes, most of them. We need more nuclear power plants. That's what we need to do. But these people seem to be focusing on the wrong issue here. It just blows my mind. It's all a giant virtue signal, I'm telling you. New Jersey Rep. Frank Pallone, the top Democrat on the energy panel, called the House measure yet another Republican effort to attack the Clean Air Act and roll back common sense air pollution protections. The GOP action puts the profits of corporate polluters over the health and safety of the American people. How? How does it do that, Pallone? Please explain. How does it do that? How does it put the profits of corporate polluters over the safety of American people? I would love to know that. Oh, by polluting the air? So, let me get this straight. It's okay for you to fly around in a jet going back and forth to Washington all the time, every week or every 2 weeks or however often you fly. But we can't drive our little car that doesn't produce hardly any carbon dioxide. Yeah, go screw yourself, buddy. Go screw yourself. Instead of focusing on funding the government, which is set to shut down at the end of the month, Republicans are wasting time by bringing up this resolution they know has zero chance at becoming law, Pallone said, noting that even if the measure passes the Democratic-controlled Senate, it faces a certain veto from President Joe Biden. Yeah, it certainly does. And then guess what, Pallone? It's going to be on Joe Biden. He's going to have to explain to the American people why he is trying to force 56% of Americans to buy an electric car. That's what it's doing. It's mandating over half of everybody that goes to buy a new vehicle has to buy an electric vehicle. And they say, oh, it's not actually a mandate. Yeah, it is for 56% of the population. That's... For one, it's unfair. It's unconstitutional. For two, it's insane. For three, you can't do that, Joe Biden. You're trying to take choices away. Instead of focusing on where we need to clean up our air pollution, they want to go in on this garbage that people just don't care about because it's not really that big of an issue. They're calling it, oh, it's because what they can do. That's what it is. They can't get this other garbage done for some reason. I don't know why. I think it would be easy to mandate that we build only new nuclear power plants. Why doesn't Joe Biden do that? But instead, what he wants to do with the good neighbor rule is force these coal-fired power plants to shut down if they don't install technology that's not even fully developed yet. Yeah, that was a story I covered several months ago. By 2030, they want to shut down up to 45% of coal-fired power plants in this country if they don't install technology that's not fully developed yet. The development of the technology is 2 to 3 years out. Okay, so from right now, we have 6 years to do this. So 2 to 3 years is going to be tied up in the remaining development of this technology. And that gives what? 3 to 4 years to install this technology in every single coal-fired power plant in this country. That's insane. Or they are mandated to shut down. Now, like I talked about before, do I think they would actually shut these down? No, because you would send a big portion of the country back to the 1800s, to pre-industrial revolution era. That's what you would do, and I don't think anybody would allow that. They would tell you to go screw yourselves. But it's not about that. That's not what it's about. It's about what Joe Biden is trying to do. It's blatant disregard for all of these people that live in this area. You want to mandate it, mandate the technology be installed. Don't give a damn timeline on it. And don't come out and say we're going to shut these coal-fired power plants to scare these people into doing it. That's ridiculous. You're not a dictator, Joe Biden. They are just insane to me. The House passed the measure 215 to 191. 8 Democrats voted in favor, while 1 Republican, who is not a Republican, Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania, voted no. Republican Rep. John James of Michigan, who sponsored the resolution, said the out-of-touch regulation would crater the Michigan auto industry and decimate our middle class and most vulnerable citizens. Yeah, that's something I haven't even touched upon yet. As a matter of fact, it would do that. That damages, because China, once again, they are trying to flood our country. They are building factories in Mexico to sell Chinese electric vehicles to America. One of the few auto industry, right, like the manufacturing base in this country, and they're trying to just hand that to China. Yeah, that's where the bloodbath hoax came from, by the way, because Trump said, to hell with that, we're not doing it. He's putting 100% tariff on those cars. You want to blow a bunch of money and build factories to sell your Chinese cars to America? We're going to put a tariff on them so they're more expensive than American electric vehicles. Yes, to incentivize people to buy American electric vehicles to keep our auto industry afloat. Trump sees this for what it is. This is one reason why I'm backing Trump, because he can see what's going on. Joe Biden doesn't give a damn. Joe Biden would allow China to flood the country with cheap Chinese electric vehicles. Some of them are pretty good, as a matter of fact. Right? But they'd be cheap. It would cripple our auto industry. And then with Joe Biden having this rule put in place, oh yeah, say bye-bye to our auto industry. They're going to have to cut their manufacturing by over half. Yeah, right. A lot of those UAW workers would be pissed. That's probably why the Teamsters isn't supporting Kamala Harris this year. That's right. The Teamsters decided not to endorse anybody, which is a de facto endorsement of Trump, because they've always endorsed Democrats for as long as I've been alive. They've always endorsed Democrats because Democrats was the party of the labor unions. That's right. Not no more, folks. Not no more. 60% of Teamsters, when polled, said they would vote for Trump. So that's why they decided they're not going to endorse Kamala Harris. De facto endorsement of Trump. That's what that is. Trump is winning all over the place. He's winning with the average everyday American. He's not winning with insane Democrats, of course. These people, they just keep making stuff up about Trump, and it's insane to me. Insane. The EPA rule applies to model years 2027 to 2032 and would avoid more than 7 billion tons of planet-warming carbon emissions over the next 3 decades, providing nearly 100 billion in annual net benefits, including lower health costs, fewer deaths, and more than 60 billion in reduced annual costs for fuel maintenance and repairs, the EPA said. Yeah, but what they're not telling you is you would find yourself waiting at one of these charging stations because there's not enough charging stations, or you would have to just sit there, get a tow because you couldn't make it to a charging station. And they're talking about savings in fuel. Garbage, right? Your coal-fired power plant is going to have to increase production, increase coal burning to make up for that bit of electricity, right? So your electric bill is going to go up just that much more. That's what they're not telling you. These people, they just love to manipulate everybody. And that's what I'm just trying to point it out. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm trying to spread myself far and wide. So if you guys could share this video with anybody and everybody you can, hit that subscribe button. Hit the like for me if you don't mind. I sure would appreciate it. Would surely appreciate it. Cars and trucks make up the largest single source of U.S. greenhouse gas emissions. Lies. Coal-fired power plants. The new standards are designed to be technology neutral and performance-based, EPA Administrator Michael Regan said, noting that there are multiple pathways companies can choose to comply with this rule. The EPA could achieve its carbon pollution goals even if sales of battery electric vehicles are as low as 30% in 2032, as long as stringent standards for gas-powered cars are met, he said. These people are insane. I think they could actually do it. But the timelines is the problem. That's the problem. Biden, who has made fighting climate change a hallmark of his presidency, cited historic progress on his pledge that half of all new cars and trucks sold in the U.S. will be zero emissions by 2030. Don't count on it, brother. Don't count on it whatsoever. Well, if people refuse to buy the vehicles and just say screw it and keep their internal combustion engines, what are you going to do then, Joe? Huh? A lot of people don't want the electric cars. Me, personally, I don't mind. Electric cars are fast. They're real fast. We'll meet my goal for 2030 and race forward in the years ahead, Biden said, when the rule was issued in March. Yeah, get the freak out of here. Joe Biden is just an insane climate zealot. Do I actually think that? No. I don't. I think it's all a big virtue signal. These people, they'll get out there and tell you you need to go buy an electric vehicle, but then they don't tell you how intensive the process for mining all the materials needed for the batteries, how intensive that is, how taxing that is on the environment. Sorry, couldn't think of the word. They don't tell you that, yes, it's much more taxing on you, on the environment, if you have a coal-fired power plant, which, once again, like I said, is the vast majority of the United States. They don't tell you that the rest of the world doesn't have these standards. So they're trying to hem and haw you and trying to make you think, oh, well, you're doing something for the climate, when all these other countries are not. They are still producing so much carbon dioxide that us changing, 56% of our cars to electric, it's not going to change a damn thing about emissions. Because you factor everything in, all the stuff I just talked about with mining all the lithium for the batteries and all the stuff for the electric cars, mining all that garbage, that taxes the environment as well. It's just mind-blowing what these people are trying to do. It's mind-blowing because it's all a giant virtue signal. That's all it is, folks. I personally think, and I've said it a bunch of times, I think we should innovate our way through this. Don't get rid of internal combustion engine vehicles. Make them more efficient. Build nuclear power plants, for crying out loud. Make all these carbon dioxide scrubbers. Carbon capture. Instead of subsidizing all these stupid-ass windmill farms and these solar farms and all this garbage, subsidize carbon capture. Fix the problem instead of just putting a Band-Aid on the issue, right? Because transitioning from this to that's not going to take carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. It's not going to do that regardless, right? Driving in an electric vehicle is not going to take carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. That's what I don't understand about this. Yeah, you're producing less carbon dioxide, but guess what? Trees breathe carbon dioxide, by the way. But if they really want to reduce carbon dioxide to levels that we've seen in the past, then recapture the carbon dioxide. Right? You can collect that and do something with it. You can do a lot with it. And instead of trying to tax the American people into oblivion with your forced mandates and be a dictator, while constantly saying, oh, Trump's going to be a dictator on day one, when Joe Biden has been doing nothing but dictating everything. Trying to force you to pay for student debt relief, trying to force you to pay for the war because they think that they're defending democracy, or at least that's what they're telling you, when that's not what is really going on. But they're trying to go in on all this green garbage, and it's ridiculous. It's all stupid. And when you logically think about some of these things, it doesn't make any sense. Once again, all these electric cars aren't going to take carbon out of the atmosphere, right? Putting solar panels on your house isn't going to stop your coal-fired power plant from producing electricity. Not unless you have solar panels on everybody's house. But then, guess what? You need battery backups for when the sun's not out. And guess what? Yeah, those batteries, you got to mine the materials, all the minerals and stuff to make those batteries. Once again, mining the materials damages the environment. So you're not helping anything here whatsoever. They're not helping the situation. And that whole, CO2 tax or whatever, you want to buy carbon credits and all that garbage, you're paying a corporation to feel better about yourself. Oh, we want to tax the rich. But yet you're giving money to... No, I'm sorry. You, my friend, you climate zealots out there, y'all are ridiculous. Y'all are stupid. Yes. Think about better ways to spend your time, right? Think about productive ways instead of reductive ways. Buying carbon credits is the stupidest thing I've ever heard, because these people, they may go plant a tree, but you're paying them a lot of money to do so, when guess what, folks? We have thumbs and fingers. Go plant your own freaking trees. I'm just saying. You plant a tree, and then there's no need for that corporation to exist. There's no need for you to pay them however much they get paid, for them to have their job and their mansion and their vacation house and their other vacation house and their yacht. You could just go do the same thing that they're telling you that they're going to do when you have no idea if they are really doing that at all. They may be just telling you that. Or how about let's put our efforts into carbon capture or something more productive than a bunch of virtue signaling over something that's not really going to help. I'm sorry. I know I'm railing on this one. I'm passionate about this because things that make no logical sense piss me off. Hence, logic in politics. Yes, and I respond to that stuff, so. But I think I've rambled on for long enough. I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about all this. Yeah, it's probably not going to go nowhere, but it sends a message to the Biden administration to slow down, think about what you're doing, stop trying to virtue signal to the country, because most of the country isn't buying it, Joe. We're not buying it no more, and it just makes you look weak, ineffective, and not very smart. I'll put it that way. But y'all let me know what y'all think. That's all I got for this one. I want to thank everybody for watching. And y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.